welcome to our presentation on HIV in Thailand. We are going to start in Bangkok, and our health problem is the human immunodeficiency virus, otherwise known as HIV, and some health behaviors that have a huge impact on how this spreads and gets from place to place is drugs and alcohol and the use of needles and ones that aren't cleaned properly in between sharing them between people. And unsafe sex is another way, through not using condoms and having multiple partners when you don't know if they have it or not. So the cost for HIV is with insurance for treatment, it's between $30 to $40 of a copay and prescription of it. And without insurance, it's $14,000 to $20,000 annually. And throughout our research, we found out that for the medicine that it takes in order to get injected into you, for you to have to pay, it's about $200 a month just for that one specific part that's going to stop HIV from spreading throughout your own body, not even relating to spreading between other people. Going on to mortality rates, Thailand's population is about 70 million people, and an estimated 480,000 people are living with HIV and AIDS today. Just in 2018 alone, 18,000 people died from this, and that just shows the spread and how fast it's coming, and that it's not something that should just be ignored, and that's why we want to bring a light to this. Some individual influences that we found is that drugs and alcohol are huge, with unsafe needles and as well as unsafe sex being huge. It's something that needs to be put to a stop, and I feel like it's not being talked about enough, and that's a huge aspect of why it's spreading so fast.
For environmental influences associated with immunodeficiency virus, or HIV, in Thailand, we have culture and religion, migration/mobility, and socioeconomic status. For culture and religion, we must understand how their religion shapes their culture. A study done in Bangkok in 2005 revealed that Buddhism played a part in the spread of HIV due to the lower status of women. The study states that over 95% of Thais are Buddhist, and that while Buddhism is based on the desire to be free of suffering and teaches people to live in the spirit of kindness and compassion, its ideology, however, also represents women as inferior to men and negatively values female sexuality, therefore making Buddhism at least partly implicated in the exploitation and subordination of women in Thailand. This Buddhist culture in Thailand leads directly into our next environmental influence, which is migration/mobility. Another study done in Bangkok revealed that a significant way that HIV is spread is through sex workers. The study goes on to say that most female migrants who go into prostitution are young, unmarried, have relatively low levels of education, which is important to our intervention, and migrate in search of employment. Prostitution is one of the few occupations in which they can relatively have a high income because of their low status due to their culture. Speaking of low status, that leads us into our final environmental influence that we will be looking at, socioeconomics. A study done over a 4-year period in Bangkok found that poverty directly correlated with HIV rates, meaning that those living in poverty were at a much higher risk for contracting HIV. They found that those in poverty were more likely to be incarcerated, and that being incarcerated put them at a much higher risk because jails have a high HIV contraction rate. They also found that poverty was linked to injecting drug users, one of the most at-risk populations in the past due to needle sharing. After that, the study also found that poverty was linked to lower levels of education and schooling, which puts them at a much higher risk for HIV and is what we target and attempt to remedy in our intervention.
My group and I chose several Healthy People 2020 objectives that correspond well with our intervention. These include reducing the number of new HIV diagnoses, reducing the rate of HIV transmission among adolescents and adults, reducing new AIDS cases among adolescents and adult men who have sex with other men, and reducing new AIDS cases among adolescents and adults who inject drugs. The theory or model that I chose for this specific intervention was the health belief model. This model has several different constructs. The preventative action in this case is condom use. The constructs perceived severity and perceived susceptibility together will decide if a person is likely to engage in safe sex or condom use. The perceived severity in this case would be very high because there is not a cure for the disease and it will have a tremendous effect on their everyday life and life. Perceived susceptibility will be different for each individual. For example, if one engages in risky sexual behaviors and has multiple partners, they will have a higher susceptibility than someone who does not engage in these behaviors. Other constructs in this model include perceived benefits, barriers, self-efficacy, and cues to action that all play a part in the likelihood of someone engaging in condom use. Potential barriers for someone in Thailand include how to get access to condoms or having the money to purchase them. Perceived benefits include helping prevent the individual from contracting the disease, or if you already have it, from spreading it. For an individual to participate in consistent condom use, the perceived benefits have to outweigh the perceived barriers. Finally, cues to action can include anything from our intervention to having a family member or friend with HIV/AIDS or a television ad reminding people to wear condoms.
For our implementation, we plan to present educational seminars in middle schools and high schools to bring awareness to the impact HIV has brought to the population of Bangkok, Thailand. We aim to also enhance the knowledge and the skills of safe sex and where there is available treatment and tools to enhance their skill set. We have chosen middle schools and high schools because we believe young people have the right to lead healthy lives. We also believe society has the responsibility to prepare youth by providing them with comprehensive sexual health education that gives them the tools they need to make healthy decisions. Also, young people are particularly at risk of acquiring HIV. In 2018, half of the new HIV infections in Bangkok, Thailand, occurred among people aged 15 to 24. We will begin by obtaining permission by the principals of all schools to hold a 30-minute or less seminar during lunch period for a month. We plan to visit the middle schools on Mondays and Wednesdays and the high schools on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We will provide a free dessert to the students after their lunch for the first 2 weeks and then provide a lunch the next 2 weeks. We thought this was the best time to hold a seminar because it doesn't take any time out of the classroom or extra time after school. We will provide the young students with honest, age-appropriate information and skills necessary to help them take personal responsibility for their health and overall well-being. For the first week, on Monday for the middle schools and Tuesday for the high schools, we will discuss what HIV is and the impact HIV has had in Bangkok over the years to bring awareness to the students. We will provide large and intriguing statistics to capture their attention. The following days, on Wednesday and Thursday, we will discuss the reasons the numbers are so high and what behavioral risk factors are tied to HIV transmission, specifically the individual factors of not using condoms and the prevalence of drug use and sharing needles. We hope that the high schoolers are not involved in high drug use, but we do want to bring it to their attention that one of the main causes of HIV transmission is the sharing of needles and drug use. We will begin the second week on Monday and Tuesday discussing risky sexual behaviors that increase the odds of receiving HIV, including unprotected sex and having a large number of sexual partners. We found in an article that a recent UNICEF survey found that most teachers taught their sex ed classes through lectures and not so much through demonstration, which the students said they preferred. So, we will make the effort to demonstrate how to properly use a condom to enhance their skill sets. On Wednesday and Thursday of the second week, we will discuss and explain the key affected populations in Thailand who seems to be more at risk to bring awareness and knowledge. The students can then identify themselves and which population they belong to see if they're more at risk to receive HIV. In the third week, on Monday and Tuesday, we will discuss the diverse topic of sexual and gender diversity, as well as safer sex for same-sex couples, as these topics are less often taught in schools. We will reveal statistics that do show a higher prevalence of HIV in male-to-male couples, but that it is easily prevented with safe condom use and frequent testing. That is very important. On Wednesday and Thursday, we will then transition into talking about the available services for getting tested. Age has usually been a barrier for HIV testing,
but in 2012, the ban on people aged 18 and under testing for HIV without parental consent was lifted. There are HIV testing and counseling centers all around Bangkok and ensure same-day results. Approaching the fourth and last week, we will discuss Thailand's condom program on Monday and Tuesday. It is a program that offers condoms free of charge nationwide. Subsequent condom distribution and awareness campaigns have since run and often target young people, just like we are with these seminars. We will also discuss the harm reduction services for people who inject drugs. Needle and syringe programs are available in Thailand, and this has proved to increase the number of people using sterile injecting equipment, therefore lowering HIV transmission. On Wednesday and Thursday of the last week, we will talk about the antiretroviral treatment, or ART, that Thailand provides for free as part of the country's universal health insurance. They provide immediate ART to anyone testing positive for HIV. This will conclude our 1-month seminar, and we will provide a brochure with all the information discussed within the month, and as well as providing condoms to promote safe sex. For our evaluation, we believe this program will be successful because research shows that people in Thailand under the age of 25 have lower levels of HIV knowledge and HIV testing and counseling than those over 25. The younger crowd is the perfect population to target for these seminars. Research has shown that sex education is taught in schools, but topics that relate to sexual and gender diversity and safer sex for same-sex couples are less often taught. So we did make an effort to include these topics to bring awareness and knowledge that students wish to have and to also lower discrimination. Another article reveals that some students learned what STDs are in school, but they didn't learn how to seek treatment, get tested, or even get advice about it. Therefore, we also provided knowledge of the testing and counseling centers available to the students. We also explained the programs already in place to help treat those that have already contracted HIV, and we also exaggerated the universal availability of condoms and sterile syringes. We want the students to know they have a large amount of tools and resources available to them. We believe this intervention will provide the best set of skills and knowledge needed to reduce HIV transmission in the young population as well as the overall population in Bangkok, Thailand.